Welcome back, everybody. My name is All Fun and Games. I stream every day on Twitch TV, and I also make fun little videos here on YouTube. Today, we're going to be going through each seasonal boss real quick so you get the idea of each of them real fast and know exactly what to expect when they decide to attack you. So, of course, we are going to be talking about the Deerclops and showcasing exactly what happens and when it's going to try to kill you. So first, let's go ahead and reveal the map so we can showcase everything about it and all the other seasonal bosses too. Well, there's not really many, but you would get the idea. Okay, so when those are together, the Deerclops will show up in wintertime, specifically on the day 30 of the actual season. So when you end up going to fight the Deerclops, you're going to realize that you need to get a few things, some armor and whatever else, and obviously just make sure that you are prepared if you don't know how to fight it. I have an in-depth video on how to do so. So of course, when it comes down to it, that's entirely up to you. But of course, if you don't want to fight it, you don't have to fight it either. You can just run away. Just keep in mind that the Deerclops will try to attack your base if you are close to your base. So let's talk about the Deerclops as fast as we can. Once again, on day 30, I think it's like specifically day 30 point something. I don't even know what it is. It's like basically at the end of the night. So you're going to notice that you're going to hear some sort of noise. Your character is going to obviously, get through the process of saying something like something big is coming, blah, 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 giving you enough time to run away from your base. Step 1. Now, Deerclops will show up and, like I said, pummel your base or try to pummel you depending on which is closer. So just be careful about that. That's the first boss to be careful of. And of course, let's go ahead and showcase how the Deerclops decides to attack you. I'm not going to kill it or going through the process of continuously killing it, but I'm just going to showcase how it attacks. When you approach the Deerclops, depending on what season it is, I'm talking about IRL because in the wintertime, IRL, like when it comes close to Christmas, they change up the Deerclops to have it a different format. Anyways, the Deerclops has a directional hit and tries to target you, and you can actually run behind it and avoid it if you really want to, or whatever else, because it's all directional. So that is one way to avoid the attacks of the Deerclops, and you can watch my in-depth video on how to do that. That's pretty much its attack. It doesn't do anything else unless it's in Christmas time, IRL, where the laser eye will try to kill you, which makes it even more tough. Make sure that you have armor of some sorts on and some spear if you decide to attack it. It's not a hard boss to kill, and blah, 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 blah. You get the idea that this boss is not that big of a deal to deal with. Now, keep in mind, it is one of the tougher bosses if you are not experienced much and don't starve together, but if you are, you can have a few friends kill it in probably a few minutes. Okay, so that's the one that shows up in wintertime. Of course, like I said, day 30 point whatever. Basically, nighttime, just be a little bit careful and listen for the growling noises that are a little bit louder and darker than the actual hounds. Okay, next up seasonal boss would be the actual time when you see, where's the oasis at? The antline. Now, it's not summertime right now, but if it was, the antline would appear inside the oasis. The way to get to the oasis, of course, is walking to the oasis. There's two ways to actually kill the antline. When you end up approaching it, the antline will appear and, of course, cause a little bit of havoc if you are not attacking it or ignoring it. It will actually come to you and rattle the bottom of the floor and or your base and cause tiny little holes in the area. So if you've never seen this before and summertime hits and you see a bunch of like craters, well, guess what? The antline is pissed off, so you might want to go to appease it. Now, in actual summertime in the oasis, it's going to be a sandstorm. So when you walk through here, your character is going to walk extremely slow, basically to the point of where it's going to be very annoying to get around. That's why if you go and fish in the oasis, you can get yourself some goggles, or the blueprints, I should say, for the goggles, that you can then make using pig butts and blah, blah, blah. If you want to watch an in-depth video on that, I do have that available too. And then when you make that, you can then walk around the sandstorm. Now, let's talk about the actual boss real fast and just go over it as quickly as we can. When the antline decides to attack us, you can actually kill it, reverse kill it, obviously because you want it to die, or you can appease it by just giving it random stuff like trinkets and blah, 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 blah. Specifically, when you give it trinkets, it's going to appease it. It's going to say, I'm happy, and whatever else it's going to do. And then it's good to go for a little while. Then you can go and either do that, or you can feed it a cold thermal stone, which will freeze it, letting you attack it, and then get ready for a crazy battle. Basically, what happens is it'll put a wall of actual, like, not spikes, but kind of sandcastles around you, limiting your movement speed, and it'll release spikes around you as well too. I'd show you the battle, but like I said, if you want to see the in-depth one, feel free to watch it on my YouTube channel. Then when that goes through the process, you can go through and kill it, but of course you're going to be in a sandstorm, so you're going to want to make sure that you either have the goggles or you have some crazy amount of healing, and you're just basically going to tank it up. I've showcased a few ways of actually tanking it up by just giving yourself a ton of armor, sitting there with a dark sword and hitting it as fast as you can with a few other friends that are willing to heal you. It actually works perfect, and there's a few other ways to kill it, but just keep in mind that killing the antline is actually a better way of killing it versus actually just leaving it alone. I feel like killing the antline is better, but of course some people choose to appease it or whatever else. else. Anyways, that's the actual seasonal boss for the summertime. And then, of course, we get to autumn. Now, I'm not talking about the first autumn, I'm talking about the actual autumn that happens after the first one. So, the autumn that happens after the first one, randomly, you never really know when it's going to happen. I find it's usually within the first 15 days of autumn. You're going to hear a loud roaring noise that is even crazier than the actual then I'll show you why I didn't spawn in the antlion. So if I spawn in the antlion right now, it's just going to disappear because it's not summertime. Of course, I can force it to be summer, but we don't really need to do that. That's why I didn't showcase it, in case you're like, why did you even showcase the antlion? Bearger. Okay, so the Bearger will spawn in. Of course, we already are in autumn, and this is what would happen. Just like similar to the Deerclops, the Bearger is actually more hungry, so it's going to walk around and try to kill things or smash things up, just like the Deerclops would as well. The problem is that the Bearger has an AoE attack that will literally demolish everything around it, especially if you have a base. So, for example, if I made a nice little beautiful little base here and everything was looking nice and pretty, and then I walked over to the Bearger and I said, hey Bearger, what you up to? And this thing decided to attack me. Well, let's go ahead and showcase what would happen. Hey Bearger, what you up to? Bink. All right. So the first few swipes are fine, and then eventually it's going to go through the process of actually doing another swipe, and I can keep attacking it, and then another swipe, and this is where the ground pound happens right now. So of course you can see the AoE damage that it'll hit, and it will destroy a lot of things. So if I walk through here, it's just going to smash up everything, which is why you really don't want it to walk near your base, because your base will get destroyed just by it walking around. Now, the attack pattern is pretty simple. If you want to watch the in-depth fight of how to do it, it's pretty simple. So basically, you go through the process, wait for the swipe to hit a few times, blah, 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 back out, same situation, do it again, back out, same situation, do. Then the ground pound happens, it'll immediately swipe again, and then you're back into the same routine again. That's the attack pattern real quick. If you want to do it yourself or figure it out, you can do that too. Thing about the actual Bearger to worry about, though, is it's going to chase after you really fast, which obviously is a new thing that Clay added fairly recently. I don't know, about a year ago or something like that. Anyways, that's one thing. And of course, during seasonal events, IRL, it will change to be a different type of Bearger, but has kind of similar attacks, so it's not really that big of a problem. Okay. Now, seasonal-wise, the other thing is in Don't Starve Together, that, of course, in wintertime, the Bearger will be asleep. So it will fall asleep and it will stay asleep. So if you go to attack it, it's going to yawn, and the yawn effect will make your character fall asleep. Similar to how it would be if you ate a mandrake. Your character would just pass out, and that's fine. But the problem with the Bearger is it will literally make you yawn, fall asleep, and then it'll make your character tired or pass out, and it will literally stomp you up. So you just got to make sure that when you are fighting it, try to avoid fighting it in winter and also spring, because springtime too, the Bearger does a similar thing. So what I would really like to suggest is that if you encounter the Bearger during your first autumn after surviving the full year and Don't Starve Together, use it for chopping down trees and then eventually kill it before it hits winter. Probably one of the better things, because why the heck do you need a Bearger for chopping down 1,000,000 trees? I guess you could use it, but honestly, there's better ways to chop down trees now, so I mean, it's really up to you. And there you go. So those are the seasonal bosses. Once again, Deerclops, that is in winter, Antlion in summer, and in autumn, of course, you have yourself a Bearger. And these will keep happening and happening and happening and happening. Now, sometimes you can get unlucky and skip one of the seasonal bosses. It's very rare. It does happen, though. And, of course, I wouldn't consider the Moose Goose a seasonal boss, although I guess if you really want to consider it, sure. Another one is actually if you decide to kill Klaus, but this is not a boss that will kill you. I'm only focused on the bosses that are going to come towards you and not the bosses that you're going to go towards them. That's why I left out the other ones, okay? So in case you're curious and going like, well, you're forgetting this one and this one. Yes, Klaus is a seasonal boss, meaning you can only fight in wintertime, but it's a boss that you choose to fight, not a boss that chooses to fight you. So these are the 3 bosses to worry about, as these are the only ones that are going to come towards you and try to actually murder you. So be careful, go out there, enjoy Don't Starve Together, and let me know if you need any assistance, and refer to other videos on how to actually fight them. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you in the next one.